In the annals of military history, few names evoke the raw grit, audacious strategy, and unrelenting brutality of war like General George S. Patton. A man known as much for his daring tactics as his controversial leadership style, Patton led his forces through some of the most brutal and decisive battles of World War II. From the deserts of North Africa to the hedgerows of Normandy and the final push into Germany, his campaigns changed the course of history and left an indelible mark on modern warfare. Few names in the annals of military history inspire such a mixture of awe and controversy as General George S. Patton. Was he a brilliant, if flawed, battlefield tactician, a relentless, even ruthless engine of war, or perhaps, like so many figures throughout history, a complicated fusion of both? Today we're diving deep into the career of this legendary American general, exploring not just his victories, but the battles that tested him, forged him, and ultimately cemented his place in the pantheon of military leaders. The sands of North Africa became the proving ground for Patton's bold leadership. After taking command of the US II Corps, Patton sought to restore discipline and morale among his troops. His first major test came at the Battle of Guettar in Tunisia, where he faced off against Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps. On March 23, 1943, Patton's forces clashed with the Germans in an intense engagement. The US Army, still inexperienced in large-scale warfare, faced waves of German tanks. Patton's strategy relied on aggressive counterattacks and effective use of artillery to halt the German advance. We'll be looking at the clashes, the confrontations, the moments where the fate of armies, even nations, hung precariously in the balance. From the blood-soaked trenches of World War I to the sprawling battlefields of Europe in World War II, Patton's story is one of relentless drive, unwavering aggression, and an almost preternatural understanding of the terrible calculus of war. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey through some of the most brutal battles in modern history, battles that left an indelible mark not only on the world but on the man we're here to discuss, George S. Patton. Guettar was brutal not only for the intense combat but because Patton demanded unflinching discipline from his troops. He famously told his men, "I don't want to get any messages saying we are holding our position, we are advancing constantly." It was a grueling battle, but Patton's leadership proved the Americans could stand toe-to-toe with the Wehrmacht. The year is 1918. The victory at Guettar marked a turning point for American forces in North Africa, but it was only the beginning of Patton's unrelenting pursuit of the enemy. The place, the Western Front. Imagine, if you will, the horrors of the trenches, a nightmarish landscape of mud, blood, and barbed wire. It's here, amidst the deafening roar of artillery and the ceaseless chatter of machine guns, that a young George Patton receives his baptism by fire. From North Africa, Patton's next test was the invasion of Sicily. As commander of the US 7th Army, Patton's rivalry with British General Bernard Montgomery pushed him to pursue daring maneuvers to outflank the Germans and Italians. The campaign was marked by fierce fighting and brutal conditions. Patton, commanding the newly formed US Tank Corps, is tasked with leading his men against the entrenched German forces in the Meuse-Argonne offensive. This is no mere skirmish, mind you. This is a grinding, attritional struggle, a desperate fight for every inch of ground. In July 1943, Patton launched a rapid drive toward Palermo, liberating the city in just 4 days. But the most brutal phase came during the fight for Messina, where Patton's forces faced heavily fortified German defenses. Using a combination of amphibious landings and relentless ground assaults, Patton outmaneuvered the Axis forces, but not without heavy casualties. Despite being wounded in the leg during the assault, Patton refuses to be evacuated, rallying his men and pushing forward with relentless determination. War is not only a matter of equipment, artillery, and troops, but also of spirit. The men fought like lions, and we bled for every inch of ground in Messina. But victory was ours. This battle, though just a taste of the carnage to come, showcases Patton's unwavering resolve and his almost instinctive grasp of armored warfare, foreshadowing the legendary commander he will soon become. While the Sicilian campaign was a success, it revealed both Patton's brilliance and his flaws. His controversial slapping incident, where he struck a shell-shocked soldier, threatened his career and overshadowed his battlefield achievements. After D-Day, Patton was placed in command of the US Third Army and unleashed his trademark aggression during Operation Cobra, the breakout from Normandy. The dense hedgerows of the French countryside turned the battlefield into a maze of ambushes and bloody skirmishes. Fast forward to December 1944. Patton's strategy emphasized speed and surprise. His forces advanced nearly 60 miles in just 2 days, encircling German troops and cutting off their escape routes. But the price of this victory was steep. Entire villages were reduced to rubble, and thousands of soldiers on both sides were killed or wounded. The Second World War is raging, and Hitler's armies have launched a desperate counteroffensive in the Ardennes forest. The Battle of the Bulge, as it will become known, catches the Allied forces off guard, threatening to shatter their lines and alter the course of the war. Patton pushed us hard, but he also gave us confidence. We knew if we kept moving, the enemy couldn't regroup. The battles were brutal, but his leadership kept us alive. Enter George Patton, now a seasoned and highly decorated general. Operation Cobra shattered German resistance in Normandy and paved the way for the liberation of Paris. It also solidified Patton's reputation as one of the most effective and relentless commanders of the war. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, he executes a maneuver of breathtaking audacity, wheeling his Third Army north to relieve the besieged American forces at Bastogne. The weather is atrocious, the fighting brutal, but Patton, with his characteristic mix of bravado and tactical brilliance, rallies his men, pushing them to their absolute limit. The relief of Bastogne becomes a turning point in the battle, a testament to Patton's strategic genius and the fighting spirit of the American soldier. Chapter 3. Desert Storm, the Battle of El Guettar. Our journey takes us now to the scorching sands of North Africa, where in early 1943 Patton, commanding the US II Corps, faces a formidable foe in Erwin Rommel's Africa Corps. The Battle of El Guettar is about to unfold, a clash of titans amidst the unforgiving dunes of the Tunisian desert. Patton, always eager to come to grips with the enemy, launches a series of aggressive attacks against the entrenched German and Italian forces. The fighting is fierce, marked by tank duels and desperate infantry assaults under the blistering desert sun. Despite facing logistical challenges and a determined enemy, Patton's forces prevail, inflicting heavy losses and driving Rommel's Africa Corps back. The victory at El Guettar cements Patton's reputation as a master of mobile warfare and sets the stage for the Allied invasion of Sicily. Chapter 4. Conquest and Controversy, the Sicily Campaign. The year is 1943. The Allied invasion of Sicily, Operation Husky, is in full swing. Patton, now leading the US 7th Army, is unleashed, his forces surging ashore with characteristic aggression. But Sicily is not just a battlefield, it's a crucible testing not only Patton's military acumen, but also his judgment. His relentless pursuit of victory leads to moments of both brilliance and controversy, actions that will forever be debated by historians, from the lightning advance across Sicily to the slapping incidents that threatened to derail his career. Patton's time on the island is a whirlwind of triumph and turmoil, a stark reminder that even the greatest military minds are not immune to the fog of war. Chapter 5. Fortress Metz, a test of resolve. Our final chapter takes us to the fall of 1944. Perhaps Patton's most famous and grueling campaign came during the winter of 1944-1945. In December, the German army launched a surprise counteroffensive in the Ardennes, creating a massive bulge in the Allied front lines. With American forces surrounded at Bastogne, Patton's Third Army was called upon to rescue them. The Allied armies are advancing into Germany, but progress is slow, the fighting often grinding and attritional. In one of the most remarkable feats of the war, Patton redirected his entire army 90 degrees in just 48 hours, marching through snow and ice to relieve the besieged troops. The fighting was fierce, with temperatures plummeting and casualties mounting on both sides. Patton, always eager to maintain the momentum of attack, sets his sights on the heavily fortified city of Metz. We'll hold Bastogne, and then we'll go on to finish the job. A soldier who won't fight in the snow isn't worth his salt. What ensues is a grueling siege, a battle of attrition that tests the limits of both man and machine. Metz, with its ancient fortifications and determined German defenders, proves a formidable obstacle, but Patton, as he has done so many times before, refuses to be denied. Patton's bold maneuvers and unrelenting determination broke the German offensive, turning the tide of the Battle of the Bulge. The campaign was one of the bloodiest of the war, with over 19,000 American soldiers killed. But it cemented Patton's legacy as a master of mobile warfare. The capture of Metz, though often overshadowed by other battles of the war, is a testament to Patton's unwavering tenacity, his ability to motivate his men even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. It is a fitting capstone to a career defined by boldness, brilliance, and an almost singular dedication to victory. Outro, the legacy of old blood and guts. As the Third Army surged into Germany, Patton's forces faced desperate resistance from the remnants of the Wehrmacht. The crossing of the Rhine River and the drive into the heart of Nazi Germany were marked by brutal urban combat and harrowing civilian casualties. So where does George S. Patton stand in the grand tapestry of history? During this final campaign, Patton's troops liberated concentration camps, revealing the horrific realities of the Holocaust. The brutality of the fighting was matched only by the horrors they uncovered. A brilliant commander, a flawed individual, a relentless force of nature on the battlefield. Perhaps he was all these things and more. His impact on modern military strategy, particularly his mastery of armored warfare, is undeniable. Patton's relentless drive into Germany was a fitting culmination of his career. He embodied the brutality of war, unforgiving, relentless, and focused on victory at all costs. But beyond tactics and maneuvers, Patton's legacy lies in his ability to inspire, to instill in his men a belief in their own invincibility. George S. Patton's battles were among the most brutal of World War II, defined by intense combat, heavy casualties, and unyielding determination. His aggressive tactics and fiery leadership earned him a place among the greatest military commanders in history, though not without controversy. As he once said, "Wars may be fought with weapons, but they are won by men." For Patton, it was always about pushing forward no matter the cost. He understood, perhaps better than most, that war is ultimately a human endeavor, a clash not just of armies, but of wills. If you found this exploration of Patton's brutal battles insightful, please consider giving the video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into history, and leaving a comment below with your thoughts.